Well, hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bruce Ross, and I'm here today with Chris Shearer and Mike Kramer. And we are doing another Facebook Live. This is the third in a series of 10. The one last week, well, what these Facebook Lives are about is explaining the 9 elements of our Free Yourself framework. And last week we introduced the first one, which was the ultimate business outcome. So Chris, if you can click through to the next slide. And this is our Free Yourself framework. Last week we introduced the concept of your ultimate business outcome, which is really what is it you want to do, the succession planning, the exit planning, your ultimate decision around your business. Now, the question that we asked that supported that was, yes, but what does freedom look like for you? Because you clearly need a vehicle that is going to support you get there. So that was last week. This week, we're looking at the area of mindset. And as you see, it's right at the hub, right at the core of our Free Yourself framework. So we need to expand and explore a little bit about this, because usually in most people's minds, they don't see mindset as the place to go to. It's the first place in our world that you need to start with. The default for most business owners is to go straight to strategy. Where do we want to get to? How do we get there? What are the implementation steps we need to take? But in our world, right at the core of a successful business, a successful life, is in fact mindset. So the question is, overview, what is mindset? And so let's just bounce around between the three of us. What comes to mind when you guys think of mindset? What turns up in your head?
A person's outlook.
Yep.
Their reality, their perspective.
Got it. Yep.
Yes, for me, I think it's your approach to things, how you come at whatever it is you're dealing with. And I agree with Mike. It's totally related to your perspective, your experience in the world, and it's obviously different for everybody.
Totally, absolutely. If you can click through to the next slide, Chris. I've tried to cut this down to its most simplistic that I possibly can, so that we get a really clear understanding. We've got the inner world. The inner world is the world that we experience. It's the inside our body. And then you've got the outer world, which is clearly what's going on outside of us. And the mindset piece is to do with, Chris, if you can click the next button, it's how we think about it. So it's our interpretation, it's our story, it's our conclusions that we draw. And we get access to that. We can actually begin to understand what our mindset is, because for most people, it's not that easy. What is your mindset? Don't know. We can access it via our inner dialogue, the inner conversation. And sometimes it's known as the inner critic. Now, if you can click the next button, Chris, because the biggest challenge around this is that what forms up our mindset is in fact 95% subconscious. Only 5% of our thinking of, what do I think about it? What's my decision? What's my reality around what I see is only 5% conscious. The rest is semi and unconscious. And therefore, as a business owner, we need to be having our eyes looking in 2 directions. Number one, internally, introspection. What is my own mindset? How am I thinking about this? How am I thinking about this person? How am I thinking about this project? Because if there is any sort of concern, hesitation, procrastination, that is a limiting belief that is rearing its head and is interfering with your ability to make a clear decision right then and there. So you need to be having a look internally, but also externally to the systems that need to be improved. So it's a balance of those 2 things, the inner world and the outer world. You need to start inward first, the inner journey of the entrepreneur, as a powerful place to start. So, Chris, if you can click on to the next slide. And I'm going to throw this over to Mike, because Mike is our systems expert. He's got these brilliant systems, brilliant processes. What is it, Mike, when you're working with a client, you've got these brilliant, proven, superb systems, what stops them from implementing them?
Well, the first thing, Bruce, as you know, is we can only help the willing. So the first impediment to helping somebody that we know that if only they had the system, their pain would go away, right? They would start growing again. All their dreams, all their ambition for their business, that big bang dream that they had when they first started that business of theirs, could be achieved if they had the system. But we can't do anything to help them if they don't have the right mindset. A mindset that I can do this. It's not too hard for me. I want to do it right. I don't want to manage by the seat of my pants anymore. So the mindset of the owner is the very first impediment. And that's why mindset is so darn important.
And if you take it further, because let's say the business owner is clear, he wants to make it happen. He's the risk taker. He's prepared to open his mind and this sort of thing. Then you've got to bring your staff on board too. What do you think is the biggest impediment for them adopting these fantastic systems?
Well, for employees, oftentimes we've tried something in the past and it hasn't worked, and now I don't want to waste my time spinning my wheels. So fear that they would waste time, but also fear that maybe somehow they would be marginalized, that the status quo would be upset. Change is a clear impediment for the workforce. And it's so unfortunate, because what the systems actually do is they unlock the full potential of the organization to benefit everyone.
So what I'm hearing inside what you're saying is mindset. I have a fear around this change. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up with this change. What if I'm not clever enough? What if I'm not smart enough? These are all limiting beliefs, and they sit in the semi-conscious of people. So we're not actually that consciously aware of them, but we need to become consciously aware of them to be able to change them. Because the question is, can you change mindset? The answer is absolutely. Now, this whole area of mindset, it's not new. People talk about it all the time. If you look on the internet, you'll see Carol Dweck talks around fixed and growth mindsets. But the reality is, even though you've heard about it and you know you've got to do affirmations, or maybe you have to do meditations, or maybe you've got to change your physiology because that changes how you think, breathe deeper and that sort of thing. They are not permanent shifts. They are transitory. They are temporary. What I'm interested in, and what it is that we teach and what it is that we go into, is how do you make a permanent shift? So you literally go into your head, you uninstall those limiting beliefs that stop me going, oh, I don't know if I'm up to this. I'm feeling so stressed. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I don't have the time. These are all limiting beliefs. To be able to go in, consciously deinstall or uninstall those and reinstall powerful, empowering decisions, clarity, perspective, recognition of your own strengths, so that what you can do over time is build inside your head the biggest and the greatest cheerleader you've ever heard, that is speaking to you in terms of, yes, I can do that. Yes, you're able to do that. This is interesting. This is vibrantly crucial to how I want to get and move forward. And I can meet and talk with my team and feel very open to that. How do you make that shift, not temporarily, but as a permanent transformation? That's the sort of thing that blows my hair back. That's the sort of thing that's caused me to really dig deep and delve into these areas. And it was all triggered. I was a performance coach inside an organization, sales organization, that did no advertising. They worked through a referral basis. So they'd provide a service and they'd ask for referrals. So I was part of the team that put together a scientifically proven script. It absolutely worked. We had videos, we had role plays, and we even tested it. 3 out of the sales team of 80 ran it through, tried it, and it worked brilliantly. And my job was to coach people into this. Now, what do you think happened? I'll tell you. No one, apart from those 3, no one picked it up. And this confused me. So you can have the brilliant system. You can go to so much trouble, but unless you address the mindset part, because what was going inside their head was, I'm not sure if I'm up for this. I don't like this. This is not me, or whatever the internal inner critic voice was saying, and therefore you were stopped at that point. Does this ring any bells for any of you too?
The very first thing that we have to do is establish trust. Everybody involved in any kind of improvement initiative, any kind of change initiative, has to start with all the participants, the leaders, the employees, the consultants. Everybody has to agree that we're going to work together and we're going to achieve a common goal that will benefit everybody, and that nobody has to come at it from a fear place, but they should come at it from a place of potential.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting, Bruce. So as you were, before you actually described a lot of what is needed in mindset, I was actually thinking people really need to care about what it is they're doing. They have to have interest in it. They have to want to do it. They have to believe in it. And I think that's basically a major piece of what you were saying. If those things don't exist, then the effort and what Mike's talking about, that motivation and performance are not going to come out. It's, I think, pretty clear.
You know, Chris, and what's amazing is what happens if you can start with that little kernel of trust, and they start to experience the powerful impacts of building the system and turning it on and having it solve their problems, how everybody then starts getting engaged and everybody's mindset shifts to positivity and unity. And then the momentum builds upon itself, and it's a marvelous thing. The spark becomes the fire, and it's just an amazing thing that happens in every organization that can harness the power of their people.
That's great. In fact, you actually shared a story of almost along those lines, Mike, when we got on here as we were preparing for this call, and I can see it happening. The difference between a group of people who are not engaged, who don't share the same understanding or the same excitement about some system or process that they're going to all be striving to implement and to make happen for a customer, versus that same group of people fully engaged, on the same page, going in the same direction, and seeing results. When you came back, or when you came on, before we got on here, you were literally glowing from the work that you had done this few days that you spent off site, and I'm pretty sure that excitement you had is from that same kind of thing that you experienced while you were working with your client.
Yeah, and it all comes back to mindset. Mindset and achievement. So it's possible to multiply the positivity of mindset once you start achieving. And when people start achieving their goals and they see that they're making a difference not only in the lives of their customers, but in their own lives, that they're not wasting their time spinning their wheels, solving the same problems, but instead now their time is being spent being innovative and solving problems permanently instead of putting Band-Aids on things. And they can go home and feel like I accomplished something. Well, this is an amazing thing. And all of a sudden, you know, the culture, the energy of the organization changes, and it multiplies the opportunity of everybody involved. And the customer too, let's not forget the customer, because when customers are being satisfied, when they're referring you more business, and when they're calling you up to thank you, you know, for the impact that you've had, well, that's a big boost. That's a big boost to everybody, and it fuels more and more and more and more.
So my question inside, if anyone is interested in freeing themselves, building a business which is sustainable, scalable, and saleable, where do you start? And in our world, you start with mindset. It is a mandatory first step. Most people, in my experience, most people put it off as, yeah, one day, if and when I'll get, I know it's important, but I'll put it off. It is the fundamental place to start, because number one, it gives you a sense of clarity. It energizes you. It gives you a sense of achievement, and not only that, but you're able to then inspire and motivate the team that you're with. If you think about that, culture is collective mindset. it starts first with a leader unlocking or knowing how to shift and retarget their mindset, and that'll have a multiplier effect. Now, we go into this in quite some depth, and certainly in our training program, we go into mindset in a way where you're able to permanently shift and live inside that highly connected, highly intelligent, naturally authentic leadership space. I think it's one of the most elegant, simple, and effective approaches to mindset shift which I've ever come across. I've done a lot of research in this area, and you can get a sense if you look at our webinar, the 6 essentials for freeing yourself from your business, because there are some of the key elements of the mindset shift are within that. So as we begin to round this out, Chris, could you go to the next slide? Okay, with a great mindset, your rocket ship takes off. Fantastic, nice, nice. So just a taster today, ladies and gentlemen, but for us, mindset's at the very core. And I think for those of you who also feel that mindset is crucial, you'll get a lot out of the webinar. And certainly we love talking about it and seeing what you've done and also giving you assistance as to how you can accelerate that mindset shift. Any other thoughts from you guys before we start to wind this up?
Well, I'm just excited to talk about this because, well, I think anybody listening can hear the passion in our voices. And the reason is that we've seen this work. And if you're in a place where you feel like you can't get unstuck, well, we have a solution for you. And we encourage you to start by watching the 6 Shifts presentation and then schedule a call with us, and we'll make it real for you.
Yeah, and if you're if you want to see more about what we're doing, we'll continue to have these Facebook Live sessions on a weekly basis. Next week, we're hoping to move it back to Wednesday, 7 p.m. And we've got all the other areas to cover. So come back next week. And what are we talking about, Bruce? I think we're going to get into
leadership.
Leadership, correct?
And I'll be probably spearheading that one, and I'll be introducing leadership from a completely different perspective than I think you'll ever have heard about before. And it simplifies it, cuts it to its bare core, and you'll understand leadership from a brand new perspective. So looking forward to sharing that next week as we go into another of the elements of our 9 elements of the Free Yourself framework.
Thanks, guys.
Well,
thanks everybody for
that was great.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you, Chris, for organizing it.
No problem.
Bye, everybody.
Pleasure.
Okay. Bye now.